Yesterday, we showed you JD Vance's answer on how to get the cost of childcare down. And he came up with some truly revolutionary ideas like, have you considered asking family to help? And that was very helpful to me as a new parent. Anyway, he fumbled it, and now Trump is being asked the same thing. He's obviously been in politics a lot longer than JD Vance, so we can expect that his answer is gonna be much better.
If you win in November, can you commit to prioritizing legislation to make childcare affordable? And if so, what specific piece of legislation will you advance?
Well, I would do that, and we're sitting down. I was somebody, we had Senator Marco Rubio, and my daughter Ivanka was so impactful on that issue. It's a very important issue. But I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, that, because look, childcare is childcare. There's something, you have to have it. In this country, you have to have it. But when you talk about those numbers compared to the kind of numbers that I'm talking about by taxing foreign nations at levels that they're not used to, but they'll get used to it very quickly. And it's not going to stop them from doing business with us, but they'll have a very substantial tax when they send product into our country. Those numbers are so much bigger than any numbers that we're talking about, including childcare, that it's going to take care. We're going to have, I look forward to having no deficits within a fairly short period of time, coupled with the reductions that I told you about on waste and fraud and all of the other things that are going on in our country, because I have to stay with childcare. I want to stay with childcare, but those numbers are small relative to the kind of economic numbers that I'm talking about, including growth, but growth also headed up by what the plan is that I just told you about. We're going to be taking in trillions of dollars, and as much as childcare is talked about as being expensive, it's relatively speaking not very expensive compared to the kind of numbers we'll be taking in.
Dear God.
A storm is tearing up the digital media industry. Only our audience can save us in these difficult times. Help us reach our goal of 100,000 new members at tyt.com/team.
I would show you like a graphic of the transcript of that answer, but preliminary studies have revealed that 1 in 10 people glimpsing that all at once die, and more than 1 in 4 are committed to an insane asylum. And I don't even want to bring up asylums because that'll get him talking about Hannibal Lecter again. That was, what was that? He was president already for 4 years, and that's the answer he gave. He was asked, what specific legislation would you pass to bring down the cost of childcare? And he talked about Marco Rubio and big numbers and growth and tariffs. And if there is anything, if we were to dig through to find what his idea, I guess, is, which is nowhere in the neighborhood of a specific piece of legislation, it's we're going to jack up tariffs on most of the things that you buy, and we're gonna pretend that they're paying for that, not all of you. You're gonna pay for it, but let's pretend for a moment that you're not. And instead it's money we're getting. Well, then we'll have money, and so cost of childcare down. How? Again, what legislation are you, like, the government will get money. Are you saying that you're gonna pay for the childcare with the money you're not gonna get? Are you saying, because you're not literally saying that, are you implying that? And there's a lot of other problems, because it turns out that he's already allocated that fictional revenue that will never exist to a lot of different things. But I'll also remind everyone, because we have been through this before, he already said before he was elected the first time, he's going to wipe out the national debt in 2 terms. Now, granted, he didn't get 2 terms, but in the first, he didn't do a lot of wiping. Literally, he added trillions of dollars to the national debt. So the idea that we're not gonna have deficits because it's gonna bring in so much money, his tax cuts didn't do that last time. There's literally no reason to believe that they're gonna do that this time, Brett. But what do you make of his answer there? Or his response anyway?
It is so funny to hear what people are talking about when it comes to Trump, because they're always talking about it. Sometimes you're talking about it, sometimes I'm talking about it. The numbers I'm talking about are different from the ones you're talking about, that we're talking about. But the thing you don't actually hear are the numbers. And Donald Trump, the thing he has going for him in the general perception of Donald Trump and his personal background is that he's a businessman. And in the past, in debates, he's been able to show up on the stage and talk about economics, macroeconomics, in a way that sounds at least like he knows what he's talking about. But in this scenario, he has absolutely zero idea what he's talking about. He can talk about marketing, but when it comes to actually like enforcing a trade policy, if he has to get into anything more specific than we're gonna protect American businesses, he completely melts down like you just saw. What he's trying to say is that we're going to tax other countries for making stuff and sending it to America. That's going to be his entire tax policy. That is very easy to fight back against because all that is raising prices on Americans. It doesn't, and it's not folded into a more populist message, which is so easy to do, but he's just so damn lazy, he's never gonna do it. And he has no incentive really to do it, except for this perceived incentive that he thinks he has. Like, he has no incentive to do anything other than go to rallies and say, she's stupid, she laughs weird, we're cool, I'm awesome, Hulk Hogan, move on. That's the only people he's going to message to effectively. But he thinks he can win on the economy. Kamala just needs to put a few sentences together saying, I'm going to protect American businesses and I'm going to reward anyone who comes back to America that way. But in terms of childcare, like, it just doesn't pass the sniff test. Like, that guy doesn't care about many of his children. And there is no way that Donald changed a diaper.
No, 100%. He doesn't know anything about what it costs to raise a kid. Why would he? You think, like, who thinks he was ever involved in any of that? They had to send their kids to daycare or whatever. Like, he literally doesn't have any idea what he's talking about. He's gonna jack up the tariffs. And those other countries definitely won't do the same to us. So it's not gonna hurt our businesses trying to sell things abroad. Obviously, that would never happen. And he will tell MAGA people, so we're gonna make it 20, 30% more expensive for them to do business here. But you're not gonna pay for it because they'll just be like, oh, shucks, I guess I'll pay for it. And why? And MAGA people will be like, yeah, no, that makes sense because he's tough. Well, because he'll tell them they have to. So they won't pass that on to us. Why would they? It doesn't make any sense.
So it's a bit of a trap he's laid out, but he's so bad at laying out the trap. The trap he needs to lay out. The reason Donald Trump became president and Hillary Clinton lost is because the Democrats suddenly became a free trade party. They became a party that was for globalization, so to speak, in a way that Republicans were. Normal Republicans are like, free trade, let's make the goods wherever so that I, as the owner of the business, can make it very cheaply and charge a price that gives me a lot of profit, period. The Democrats got involved in that messaging and it's stupid. If Donald Trump says he's going to have a protectionist trade policy, but basically he's gonna be like, I'm gonna punish anyone who makes stuff overseas and I'm gonna protect American businesses. If Kamala says it's gonna raise prices, that's actually a trap for her. But he's so bad at articulating his own policy that you can smell the trap a mile away and you just step around it. Kamala just needs to say, like, listen, Donald Trump doesn't know how to take care of children. He has nannies, he's super rich. JD Vance, who's supposed to be the hillbilly elegy guy, is telling you that you need to just like give your kid over to anyone and that your family should suck it up. And proves that he's actually just an academic Ivy League elite, just like Donald Trump, and they're so out of touch with you. Now we're talking about childcare, which Democrats win on.
And by the time he had any kids, he was already a millionaire many times over. The issue isn't so much that he says, families should get involved or whatever. It's that he would tell that to people struggling with kids as if they don't already know that, as if they could have done that and didn't think of it. It's not that it's stupid and disconnected. It's that it's stupid, disconnected, and as condescending an idea as could possibly be. It's the same thing we always see. It's someone who has existed only in the bubble of fabulous wealth in Silicon Valley coming up with a solution that isn't a solution to anyone because they don't understand the actual problem.